This is the Workplace Ninja podcast, coming to you live from our summit in Baden with highlights, insights, and interviews.
So we're back with two new people on the table with a new recording of the podcast on the Workplace Ninja Summit here in Baden. And I have Dilip and Matt invited to talk about the Intune Suite. But first, Matt, what are you doing within Microsoft?
Well, just to keep it clear, you said I was on the table, so if my wife happens to be watching this, my feet are still on the floor. No, great question. My name is Matt Call, and I am a product manager. I work for Dilip, and I'm responsible for Windows security and some of the stuff that we do in the incubation space. We do new products like Intune Suite and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and Dilip, what are you doing?
Hi, I'm Dilip Radhakrishnan. I'm a group product manager. I'm responsible for a lot of security capabilities in Intune Service, as well as the new Intune Suite. So that's my product team.
Yeah, you're responsible for Intune Suite,
yeah.
And have a lot of people working together to make that a new thing within Microsoft, within the Intune environment. What is Intune Suite, and why do we have that nowadays?
That's a great question. First of all, it's super exciting to be like a startup. I've been at Microsoft for 18 years, but doing Intune Suite, this fun project, is like doing a startup within Microsoft. Right? It's just that instead of venture capital being outside, it's inside Microsoft. So we go pitch our ideas, and then our execs approve it, and then we get funding, and then we go build stuff. So that's cool. So with respect to why are we building it, it's a great question, because Intune, as you know, in the unified endpoint management space, we've been the market leaders for several years now. So we've had pretty significant success. We have about 182 million devices that are being actively managed through the Intune service. So it's one of the largest in the world. So once we have that, we just didn't want to rest on our laurels. We have always got there by working very closely with our customers and asking them, hey, what else can we do to help your operations, your IT operations? How can we save cost? How can we improve your security? And the result of all their answers was what became Intune Suite. So they came and told us a few problems that they have today, right? So typically they started with, okay, I want to do better security on the endpoints. Don't run as admins. So that's where Matt Call comes in, and he created this awesome product, which he's going to talk about. Then similarly, I want to keep my applications patched and up to date. So they had a problem around complexity of on-prem PKI infrastructure. They want to move that to the cloud. And then they want to make sure that the analytics and the data set that they get from Intune is useful for them to cut down their operational costs. So a lot of those kinds of ideas came from our customers. So we then said, okay, we'll build a product, and that became Intune Suite.
Yeah, and Intune Suite, you talked already a little bit about managed PKI in the previous recording with Ramya and Steve. Mm-hmm. We also talked a little bit about that because Ramya showed it in the keynote.
Yeah.
Managed PKI, endpoint privilege management, remote help. What else do we have in Intune Suite?
So we have remote help, which we launched last year, and it's been doing really well. We made it now cross-platform. We can now do Mac, Android management as well, and iOS will come later. So that's remote help. So we have endpoint privilege management, which again, as I said, Matt will cover more details. We have the third thing, managed applications, which is our enterprise app management to do app updates.
Yeah.
We had cloud PKI. You have analytics, endpoint analytics, and what did I miss? I have 5 at the top of my head. What's the 6th one?
MAM tunnel?
MAM tunnel, sorry.
The tunnel,
Yeah, so that's part of, think of these 5 are more Windows-centric.
Yeah.
On the mobile side, MAM tunnel is one of the key things that on a bring your own device, how do we get better security?
Yeah, and with the Intune Suite, it's on top of Intune Core. We can manage all devices optimally, but if you need some extra services, then we can extend that with Intune Suite. That's what the whole story is.
Exactly, right. So, and Matt, you can expand on it, like how being part of Intune Suite is built on Intune, and that gives you all the capabilities of native Intune and how important that is.
Yeah, I mean, that's, when Dilip roped me into this like 2 years ago, right? the whole premise here is not to create maybe an additional version of Intune or an additional thing in Intune, right? The goal really was, like Dilip sort of spoke to, hey, all of these customers are struggling with these things that maybe 10, 15 years ago were optional tasks for most organizations, right? Like, some organizations just opted not to do PKI, or some organizations opted not to do like app management, and they packaged everything by hand and all that sort of stuff. But as the world's changed, what we've noticed is essentially every capability that we talk about in the suite is table stakes for every enterprise, right? So for our perspective, when we first started looking at it, the very early thinking was like, hey, let's make sure that Microsoft has a solution in this space and can ride in this space. And then when we looked at Intune, it just makes sense, right? If you're on 180 million devices or whatever the number Dilip just said was, why not just create a platform or a set of features that rides on top of a platform that's already in use in most organizations, and make it easy. So that way, we were just watching Lance demo manage PKI. One of my peers, Lance, and his team has built the whole cloud PKI, managed PKI service, that service from scratch, brand new. And it allows you to, I think in 15 seconds, he set up a root CA, set up an issuing CA, and was issuing certificates to devices, right? Before, when I come from IT, I started in Configuration Manager 2007. I've deployed NDES hundreds of times. I can tell you that getting NDES to work sometimes can be like a 3 to 4 year effort, it can seem like, right? So the fact that Lance can do a live demo on stage, create CAs, distribute those certificates, and have devices getting certs that they can use for Wi-Fi, VPN, or whatever else you need for your corporate access, it's just unheard of, right?
Yeah.
Like it's amazing.
Yeah, I talked to Steve and Ramya, and I said I have done PKI environments in the past with NDES, within SCAP certificates, and so on and so on. Yeah. So it takes a lot of knowledge to realize that. And if you look nowadays, how many people are aware and I know how to deploy a PKI, but also not only deploy, but how to manage.
Yeah,
and that's hard.
That's true.
Right. Yeah, like you're putting up a really good point. Like one thing I just saw in the demo for the first time, I don't know how I missed it before, but in the demo, he's giving you the certificate revocation list.
Yep.
I've been into so many enterprises that get owned because they set up their own PKI infrastructure, they're issuing certs, everything's good, but they never publish their CRIL.
Yeah.
So then they can never revoke certs. So these certs are just good forever. And now we host that for you. Like it's incredible. It's just incredible.
Yeah. And the thing that you said also reminds me that this is almost like when mainframe era was there and then PC, the people who knew how to do mainframes, they're almost gone or don't exist anymore, right? Or very few. That's starting to happen in the core IT infrastructure, things that people have done over and over again, like group policy has been there for 20 plus years now. Some people set those policies and they're gone. They don't know what happens after that. But then we have MDM, right? It's now made it all easy and in the cloud. So same thing is happening with Cloud PKI, right? So you don't have to have all the knowledge and the infrastructure anymore. We do the heavy lifting. As an admin, it frees up your time to do something more important and productive.
Yeah, I had a talk a few years last year in the Netherlands with someone, and the hardest thing because of this, because Microsoft but also other companies are helping us in a good way to simplify this sort of deployments. But new people coming onto the market, students and so on, it's sometimes hard to, for a troubleshooting perspective. It's sometimes hard for them because they have not the knowledge that we have from an on-prem server. We know what was in there, so troubleshooting is, for us, it's easier, I guess, than newcomers into IT, I guess. But maybe you can...
So
what's your thought about that?
Yeah, it's true. And this is where actually we are trying to democratize that, right? So you don't need to have had PhD in IT infrastructure before you can start becoming. So the new generation of millennials coming into workforce and they want to make IT as a career. So there's new technologies that we have, right, around Copilot, right? So this new generation is used to just going to ChatGPT and asking questions, gaining knowledge that way. So that's what Intune and Microsoft 365 Copilot, Security Copilot are all going to do, is to build that knowledge, capture that information so that even newcomers can start having a career in IT.
Yeah.
So that's why this is called co-pilot. We're not like about job replacement. This is about how can we make your IT teams more effective. Like it's a pilot, a co-pilot working next to you.
Yeah, because of all the data, it's easier to give them information about the next step that they need to take in their environment.
But we're also relying on experts like you and everybody else, the MVPs, to create the knowledge, because the co-pilot cannot work on without. So it's a combination of human ingenuity and innovation, right?
Yep.
All the years that you guys have all worked together to build that knowledge. Now we're starting to get the benefit of it.
Yeah, it's like it's one of the only times in the last 20 years. Like it's been wild. I've been doing IT for 15 years or so, and I started like I said, running configuration manager at a small hospital, and it's crazy to think about, and it creates this interesting dynamic where, when I started, everything was in a data center.
Yeah.
And one of my first jobs, before they'd even let me into the console, was swapping drives, right? Yep. And it was terrible, right? And when you think about the sort of expertise and patterns and troubleshooting that you learn, like with everything in the box in your own data center, to then adopt the cloud, or to move to the cloud where it can feel like at times like it's a black box, or it can feel like at times that you don't have full visibility, it's a major sort of change for most organizations, and more importantly, the people that work there. And at the same time, it creates this interesting dynamic where you have people entering the workforce that don't have any of that experience, right? They don't have that experience. So like it creates a sort of interesting push and pull where you have people asking like, hey, make this simpler, do this way. And then we have, people who have been in the workforce a longer period of time or come from these sort of on-prem data center sort of scenarios dragging us like saying, hey, I need more logs, I need more data. And it's a really interesting time to be alive to see like all of these things sort of come together and watch the products progress. And like Dilip said, the most important part of that for me is like the MVP community. You just see the community online. Like I frequently say, the Intune product set is one of the only products where you can do your entire like career in life in that product set, starting from configuration manager to Intune, and then you can retire.
Yeah.
So like when we make feature changes and do this sort of stuff, it's people's livelihoods at stake. So we don't take that lightly, and it's just a really interesting dynamic to see as the industry progresses, how we change, how we bring new solutions to market, and so on and so forth.
It's good that you say these kind of things, because when looking at Copilot, AI is so, it's a buzz. AI with ChatGPT and so on, but Copilot can definitely help our day-to-day work to see what will be the next step and how can we improve and how can we help the product also on your side. When looking at Intune Suite, we talked about a few items, but also one what I would like to highlight is endpoint privilege management. That is also in the suite.
Yeah.
What is it and what issue, what problem for our customers are we solving with that?
Yeah, great. So, I just want to tie one thing in here. Like EPM is a perfect example. A demo that Ramya did this morning was showing how we can use some of these new sort of scenarios like AI and, generative AI in general to help find solutions.
Yep.
We all grew up using, Bing and Google or whatever else. And, you find a problem, there's a long running joke that says like, hey, I'm in IT, but really I'm just really good at searching for stuff, right? Like that's it. And, these new tools help people, like you can't search for something you don't know how to define, right? So these new tools really help. And one area that we think it's really going to help in is like areas like EPM, where maybe people come into the workforce, they know that their security team is yelling at them, telling them, hey, you need to remove administrator rights, and they don't know how to do it, and where do I start? And these tools are going to suggest things like different practices and methods. But for EPM, we just want to keep it simple. We want to do things that are secure, and we want to allow organizations to selectively sort of allow these applications or binaries or whatever to elevate without giving away the keys to the kingdom. That's really the key to EPM. That's a key landing message there. So As we move forward, we started on Windows, we GA'd in April, we continue to invest. Ramya is gracious enough to continue to allow us to bring that product forward and keep investing, and she will, I think, for a long period of time because it's so important to our security story, right? So we started on Windows. We started with the ability to allow list an application very similar to what you're familiar with in the App Control for Business or Windows Defender App Control world. And then over time, later this year, early next year, we're going to introduce our support approved scenario, which will allow you to do one-time elevations for a user on a device for a period of time, which is really excited. I think that's on our roadmap to GA in March. Which is all public knowledge and it's out there. And then, it's great to bring these additional scenarios into play, but we're also taking feedback from customers. And the biggest pieces of feedback we're getting is, I need to elevate more. I need more I need more knobs that allow me to configure different things. So our team is really focused on things like expanding to all different types of file types, whether that's MSIs, signed PowerShell, whatever that might be. And then also expanding beyond to support other platforms, potentially Mac and Linux and others. So our goal is really to sort of centralize the solution on the Intune fabric, which is the basis of Intune Suite, and then grow over time to meet our organizations where they are and allow them to define what they need to define to allow productivity to happen on their endpoints without giving away the entire keys to the kingdom, right? Yeah. Which is so important, right?
And in combination with the adminless strategy on Windows, Dave Weston has talked about that on Blue Hat in Israel in March, about adminless and removing all administrative privileges on a Windows device. So MSIX will help, but also EPM in that area to have a support organization, but also allow a user to install a certain application that needs that admin privileges to install on a certain device.
Yeah, you're completely right. I mean, we work with Weston's team all the time. He is so lucky to have such a great group of people that develop and move forward the Windows Enterprise and Security ecosystem. And you're right. When we talk to them about admin privileges and what they think and how they're going to change, they have some really big ideas. Yep. And they have some real, sort of groundbreaking things they're going to do around their adminless work to make sure that, as the ecosystem evolves, as the Windows ecosystem sort of moves forward, being, I think, very close to, if not the most prevalent platform in the world. Maybe Android is larger. I don't know. I don't have the exact numbers. But the point is that it's in billions, right? So we have a responsibility to make sure that our security posture grows at the same rate that threats grow, right? So it's really awesome to see the work that him and his team are presenting and their work on admin. And
from a customer perspective, it's good to see the improvements that has been done already in this area to secure an environment, because problems from outside, from the hacking world and so on, are getting bigger and bigger. So we need to prevent our customers with solutions like EPM, like adminless, with Windows and so on. So, and I guess Intune Suite can help with that, not only with EPM but also remote help. What's in the suite with other solutions to move forward and make the next step for our customers, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. The important thing is like half of getting owned is access. So if we can control the way that our IT professionals and people who use privileged credentials and get access to devices, if we can help IT organizations control that, then the bar for attack just keeps getting raised. Yep. And it's really exciting stuff. Like, I could talk about it all day.
Yeah, and if customers are watching or listening, they definitely can tune in with Intune Suite and test it out, have a trial or something else. So please be aware and make that trial active and see what it can do in your environment.
Yeah,
cool.
Any other things that we missed?
No, first of all, thanks for setting this up. And as I mentioned in my keynote session, the Workplace Ninja Summit, it's been growing and growing. We've done 2 years remote during COVID, and then the last 2 years I've seen how it's like improved and the kind of people it's able to attract. The infrastructure is getting better, so it's awesome for us to be associated as Microsoft with this group. So looking forward to more such partnerships.
Thank you, and it's also great that we have such a online thing, so that we can create, let people see what it is, how many people are here, so they can join next year probably.
Yeah.
So thanks for being part of this, and hopefully we see each other next time. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.